Hello guys! In the previous lectures, I've shown you how to use Paramiko module, which implements SSH to automate simple configuration tasks on Cisco devices or on Linux servers. Paramiko is a very nice and useful Python module, but it can be complicated, at least for beginner programmers. If someone is not a Python expert, he can have some difficulties using Paramiko. He has to set the missing host key policy, he must add a \n after each command, pause the script execution after the command, decode from bytes to string, and so on. A network engineer that wants to automate a simple task can easily get stuck. What I'll do now is refactor the previous scripts in such a way that even someone that's not a Python expert can use Python and Paramiko to automate its daily tasks. So I'll create a new Python script, which is in fact a Python module. Remember that a Python script is also a module that can be imported in other scripts, and there I'll define some functions that hide the complexity. I'll call the new Python script myparamiko. After defining the function, you'll simply call the functions without going into all details. I'll follow the same logic from the scripts we've already developed, and the first function will be connect. So I'm importing the module, Paramiko, and also time. They will be used in the script. And df connect the first function. In order to connect to a device, you need its IP address, its port, username, and password. So the first argument will be server IP, server port, user, and password. And I'm copying and pasting in the new script these lines of code, these two lines, and the connection part, these two lines. Here, instead of router of host name, I have server IP, the function's argument. And I'll also modify the connect function. So host name equals server IP, port equals server port, username equals user, and password equals PASSWD. Perfect. And I'm returning the SSH client because otherwise I'll lose it. If you want to use a local variable outside the function in which it's defined, you have to return it. So return SSH client. The second function is of course getShell. Having the SSH client, it will return the shell. df getShell. It has one parameter, the SSH client, and it's returning the shell object. Shell equals SSH client dot invoke shell. And of course, return shell. I want to use this variable outside the function as well. And the third function is send command. It will send a command through SSH to the remote device to be executed. df send command, the shell, the command, and a timeout. This will be a default argument. Let's say its default value is 1. And shell.send command plus \n. I'm concatenating a \n character to the command. And time.sleep of timeout. And that's all. The next function will be show. It will simply return the output from shell's buffer. df show it takes in the shell and how many bytes to read and return. Let's say 10,000. Output equals shell.recv of n. And return output.decode. I'm returning the string directly, not the bytes object. And the last function will be close, which of course closes the connection to the server. So def close SSH client. I'm printing a message, closing the connection. And I'm closing the connection only if it's active. In fact, I'll copy paste this part from here. I'll also print out a message when sending the command. So print an f-string literal, sending command, colon, and the command variable between curly braces. Okay, that's all. It's not so complicated. In fact, I've just copied and pasted the code we had already written in some functions. Remember that the main purpose of a function is to not repeat code. So in the future, we'll just call the functions each time we want to connect to a device instead of effectively writing that Python code. This is more efficient and there is no risk of making mistakes. We'll take a short break and in the next lectures, I'll show you how to use these functions.